The lid hasn't just been lifted, it's been blown sky high. A stunning twist in the Autopen scandal may have just dragged Anthony Fauci and others into the fire. I'm gonna break it all down for you. And I've seen Tom Homan fired up before, but never quite like this.
And you're such a badass, meet me off stage in 13 minutes and 50 seconds.
You won't believe what led up to that moment. Wait until you see the full minute-long face-off between Homon and the Heckler. It is an absolute explosive exchange. But first, a bold new move from President Trump aimed squarely at Vladimir Putin. Trump is threatening to slap massive tariffs on Russia in just 50 days unless Putin agrees to a peace deal to end the war in Ukraine. Now, the pressure campaign would also target any country that does business with Russia and the U.S., with secondary tariffs reaching up to 100%. This morning, Trump voiced his growing frustration with how far peace still seems.
We want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple.
If enacted, these tariffs would hit those countries hard that do business with both Russia and the U.S. And the point here is to try and get those leaders to also try and force Putin's hand to the table. Listen to Trump talk about what it's been like working with the Russian leader.
I've been hearing so much talk. It's all talk. It's all talk, and then missiles go into Kiev and kill 60 people. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. I felt that we had a deal about 4 times. Mm-hmm. And here we are, still talking about it.
And he didn't send.
We thought, and I thought, we should have had a deal done a long time ago. But it just keeps going on and on and on. And every night people are dying.
Trump continues to insist through all this that the U.S. will not keep writing blank checks. Instead, he's come up with a new plan. He says other countries would foot the bill for the weapons buying from American manufacturers. That means U.S. jobs, U.S. revenue, and international aid without draining U.S. taxpayers. And then it's those countries who bought the weapons from the U.S. that would then give them to Ukraine. It's a brilliant strategy, if you ask me. We also have some more breaking news today. The Supreme Court hands the Trump administration another victory.
The Supreme Court is clearing the way for the White House to resume mass firings at the Department of Education. CNN's chief legal affairs correspondent Paula Reed joins us now with more. Paula, walk us through what the court found.
So, Boris, this is yet another big win for President Trump at the Supreme Court. Here, he's getting the green light to continue what he has said will be the dismantling of the Department of Education. Specifically, they're focused on his efforts to carry out mass firings.
The higher court is essentially allowing the White House to continue their efforts of dismantling the Department of Education while legal challenges play out in the lower courts. Now, over the weekend, bombshell revelations after the New York Times quietly dropped a story Sunday evening that could rival Watergate if anyone in legacy media actually cared. The Times reports that President Joe Biden did not personally approve each individual pardon before his final exit from the Oval Office. Instead, the task was outsourced. The New York Times reporting, quote, Mr. Biden did not individually approve each name for the categorical pardons that apply to large numbers of people he and aides confirmed. Rather than ask Mr. Biden to keep signing revised versions, his staff waited and then ran the final version through the Autopen, which they saw as a routine procedure, the aide says. Now, the Times reports Biden met with his aides until nearly 10 p.m. on January 19th, which was just hours before the clock struck Trump. A draft of the final clemency list was then sent to the chief of staff's assistant, who forwarded it to Jeff Zients, Biden's chief of staff. And guess what? At 10:31 p.m., Mr. Zients hit reply all and wrote, quote, I approve the use of the Autopen for the execution of all of the following pardons. Sounds to me like Jeff Zients was the 46th president of the United States. And here's the issue. The Constitution is very clear. The president, and only the president, can grant pardons, not a staffer. Among those names who benefited from the Autopen are heavy hitters like Dr. Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, and Senator Adam Schiff. The claws are really out for Fauci now, which we're going to get to in just a second. But let's start with the general. Why would he need a pardon? Here's a refresher.
Did you or did you not tell him that if we were going to attack, you would let him know?
As part of that conversation, I said, General Lee, there's not going to be a war, there's not going to be an attack between great powers. And if there was, the tensions would build up. There'd be calls going back and forth from all kinds of senior officials. I said, hell, General Lee, I'll probably give you a call, but we're not going to attack you.
You articulating that you would tell him, you would give him a call, I think is worthy of your resignation. I just think that's against our country, that you would give our #1 adversary that information and tell him that.
Some are arguing that giving China a heads up if the U.S. was planning an attack and making secret calls with China behind Trump's back is considered treason. This is probably why he received a preemptive pardon. Then do you remember Senator Adam Schiff, who was on the J6 committee, tried to claim in January that he didn't want a preemptive pardon? Watch this.
What's interesting, Senator, you had been quite vocal. You didn't want President Biden to give you a pardon. You went so far as to convey that to the White House. So what are you going to do about the fact that you've now been given a pardon? Are you going to accept it, or are you planning to look for some type of legal recourse to reject it?
We're looking at it. I'm not sure there's much to be done, given that it went to the whole committee. This is also, I think, unprecedented. In the first instance, it was a result of the president wrongfully threatening to go after people who overseed his misconduct in a legitimate committee process. Nevertheless, we'll have to look at this as a committee to see if there's anything to be done.
Well, Mr. Schiff, something can be done. Here's your chance to reject the pardon signed by the Autopen if you truly believe you have nothing to hide. My guess is we won't hear a peep from him. Here's a video of Adam Kinzinger, also part of the J6 committee, discussing his take on pardons before the Autopen signed one for him.
The only reason I know to ask for a pardon is because you think you've committed a crime.
The hypocrisy is so loud that it drowns out their own logic. Now, just today, Senator Rand Paul announced he's reissuing his criminal referral to the DOJ for Dr. Fouchy. Now that we know Fauci's get-out-of-jail-free card was also rubber-stamped by the Autopen. And just a couple of weeks ago, Rand Paul wrote on X, quote, Anthony Fauci clearly had something to hide, otherwise he wouldn't have told scientists and NIH staff members to email him on his personal email to avoid FOIA requests. Rand Paul is referring to this email that reads, I can either send stuff to Tony on his private Gmail or hand it to him at work or at his house. He's too smart to let colleagues send him stuff that could cause trouble. Here's Rand Paul.
There ultimately will be an interview, either voluntarily or involuntarily. If he won't come, he will have to come back and explain to the American people why he decided to fund this research in China. This may be one of the greatest medical errors in modern history. And he bears a large part of the responsibility.
This entire investigation hinges on one central question. Can a presidential pardon be valid if it was rubber stamped by a machine on the word of a staffer, not the president himself? Here's Congressman James Comer weighing in on whether Autopen signatures could render these pardons null and void.
Many of the far-reaching executive orders were signed during the last 100 days, and they were all signed by the Autopen. We don't believe that you can sign a legal document with an Autopen. If I issue a subpoena, I have to fly to Washington, D.C. to manually sign my signature on that subpoena. Anything pertaining to the law has to be signed by a person. We know the Autopen was used. No one in the Biden administration is denying that the Autopen was used.
Missouri's Attorney General Andrew Bailey, he wrote on X, quote, in March, I questioned the legal honesty of Biden's clemency given his cognitive decline. Now, by his own admission, his pardons have no legal validity. Also weighing in, legal analyst Phil Holloway, he says, quote, Joe did not individually approve each name for the categorical pardons. The Bureau of Prisons kept providing additional information about specific inmates. His staff then ran the final version through the Autopen. These pardons can now be challenged. President Trump, he responded this morning as well to the scandal. Watch this.
The Autopen, I think, is maybe one of the biggest scandals that we've had in 50 to 100 years. This is a tremendous scandal. The people on the other side of the Resolute desk, I know them. Lisa, the whole group, and they're no good. They're sick people. And I guarantee you he knew nothing about what he was signing. I guarantee it.
Now, we're also learning that a Biden administration official quit over Joe's decision to pardon his son, Hunter.
A top attorney for the White House actually ended up resigning, according to this New York Times report, over the handling of the Hunter Biden pardon. So there were many people within Biden's orbit who very strongly disagreed with the president's decision to pardon his son and preemptively other members of his family over alleged criminal wrongdoing.
If it turns out the president didn't sign them, didn't review the names, and didn't even know who he was pardoning, then this may not just be a scandal. It could be the most sweeping constitutional crisis of the modern presidency. Now, another hot topic that has people talking is the illegal marijuana farm raids in California. And the mugshots? Let's just say this wasn't your average group of green thumbs. First up, Roman Izquierdo, convicted of kidnapping, attempted rape, and attempted child molestation, working freely on a farm surrounded by children. Next up, Jose Orellano, convicted of a DUI and hit and run with property damage. Juan Duarte Velasquez, convicted of rape and once again DUI. And then there's Adriana Gonzalez, racking up 3 burglary convictions plus DUI. I mean, these aren't dreamers. They're career criminals working in plain sight on U.S. soil. And where's the outrage from the left? Tom Homan has clearly had enough of the hypocrisy. Watch this.
They have a lot of anger under President Trump and how we're doing business, and they ignored 4 years of open borders, historic migrant death, historic Americans dying from fentanyl, historic numbers of women and children being sex trafficked, historic number of people on terrorist watch lists coming across the border. Silence, silence, because they're complicit because they didn't take the administration on and ask them to secure the border. You can't have strong national security in this country if we don't have border security. We got to know who's coming and what's coming and where it's coming. But instead, they kept silent and they kept feeding the American people, we have a secure border, and we did not.
The left is now worried about the conditions these migrants are being housed in. I mean, I've shown this picture before. I want to show it again because this is Biden's cage on rocks in Arizona summer heat. Not one single Democrat or media outlet felt this was abusive enough to speak out about. So it's really hard to take the Democrats seriously when they start complaining about things like alligator Alcatraz.
They essentially drink, they get their drinking water and they brush their teeth where they poop in the same unit.
That's called a bathroom. And those conditions sound much better than the ones I've been subjected to when I've been forced to go camping. I mean, being detained isn't supposed to feel like the Four Seasons. But during Biden's term, yeah, they gave illegal immigrants hotel rooms, smartphones, and prepaid debit cards while Americans were footing the bill. Those days, though, they're over. ICE is now back to enforcing the law, and the media acts like it's a crime to even have a border at all.
I guess my question is, do you have compassion for those people?
Dana, the bottom line is if you want less collateral arrest, and let us into jail. I mean, we want to arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail, but sanctuary cities release him into the community, which means we got to go to the community and find him. And when we find that bad person, many, many times, whether it's at a work site or in the community, they're with other people in the United States illegally. And we're going to let ICE enforce the law, uphold the oath they took. We're not going to be like the last administration who told ICE, instructed ICE, you can't arrest somebody for simply being here illegally. They got to be convicted of a serious offense. That's not what the law says. Yeah. We're enforcing the law. But look, immigration enforcement, I'm going to be clear, immigration enforcement has always been emotional. It's always been controversial. I've been doing this since 1984. I get it. Mm-hmm. And I understand why people want to come to the greatest nation on earth. I get it. But we can't send a message to the whole world that it's okay to enter this country legally. Don't worry about it. Even though it's a crime, come and enter illegally. And when you get an order of removal from a judge, you don't have to leave. You can become a fugitive, and we'll never look for you. Mm-hmm. We got to send a message to the whole world. There are consequences for breaking laws, and I think that's why, one of the reasons we have the most secure border in history of this nation today.
How about asking Dana Bash if she has compassion for the Americans that were murdered by illegal immigrants? The daughters, sons, mothers gone forever because someone thought the border was a suggestion. But that's never part of the narrative. Instead, the media defends criminals and lectures the rest of us on morality. Now, over the weekend, Tom Homan had a blistering response to that double standard. A heckler picked the wrong guy at the wrong time. Watch this.
Are you an MS-13 member? It says so.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. I got a question. No. I got a question for you. Why don't you come up here and hand me that picture? Bring it. They got morons like this all over the country. This guy wouldn't know it's like the surface nation. This guy ain't got the balls to be an ICE officer. He hasn't got the balls to be a Border Patrol agent. This guy lives in his mother's basement. The only thing that surprises me, you don't have purple hair and a nose ring. Get out of here, you loser. And hey, and you're such a badass, meet me off stage in 13 minutes and 50 seconds. I guarantee you, he sits down to pee. Guaranteed.
I like this Tom Homan. Fired up, fearless, and fed up with the nonsense. I mean, honestly, he could probably have his own show. He's got plenty of material with these bizarre liberal hecklers that he's been dealing with. But the big picture here, for the first time in a long time, we've got an administration full of people who aren't just showing up. They're going out every single day to fight hard for the American people. No apologies and no backing down. Up next, a nationwide manhunt continues for a man involved in the ambush of ICE agents that happened at a detention center in Texas. They're also still looking for a man who fired a gun during the California marijuana farm raids. I've got those details. Plus, Bill O'Reilly with an explosive secret that Trump shared with him regarding the Epstein files, and he tells us. Don't want to miss out on this one. Go ahead, click on that video you see now on your screen, and I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.